It's live. Sorry, it's live. See, it's live. கேக்குதா? Yes, ma'am.
CEO of EDAG Engineering, one of the largest independent development partners to the automotive industry globally. Welcome, Jörg.
Thank you very much. Very pleasure to be with you. Thank you.
Sure. Those who are viewing this can send in questions to the Facebook comment box. Sujit and I will put them to Sanjeev, Ganesh, Sandeep and Jörg. Ganesh, Sandeep and Jörg will make presentations and then we get into a discussion. Ganesh, over to you.
Thanks a lot, Shilpa. Sandeep, while you are bringing up the presentation, good afternoon, good evening, and good morning, everyone. Hope you are safe with your family. Special thanks to Sujit and Shilpa and my colleagues Sandeep, Jörg, and Sanjeev. Special thanks to you. As we move on to the next slide, everybody knows that the digital is changing everything that we are going through in a day-to-day life, right? But actually, there is a lot more than what meets the eye. One simple example, we order a product in Amazon and we are getting it delivered same day or the next day. That's what we know. But actually there is a lot going on behind it. What is evident in front of us is the digital transformation that has happened in the consumer-oriented industry or that's happening in that industry. But actually there is a lot going on in the manufacturing and supply chain also. While they haven't digitized it as fast as the retail segment or the consumer goods segment, but they are catching up. And that's where the battlegrounds like data, artificial intelligence, IoT and cloud plays a major role. And industrial robotics. This is something was more an R&D experiment, I would say, a decade back. Now it's a way of life in many shop floors. Couple of examples, if I take an auto segment, we always know that an automotive organization will just manufacture cars or two-wheelers and then sell it to the consumer and service it. But today they are looking at new revenue streams. Transportation segment, which was known for only doing certain things. Now they are using drones for last mile delivery. They are using drones for supplying critical medical equipments and medicines to various citizens of the world. Today, if we think of it, every industry that is part of our day-to-day life that we have to navigate through to complete a day is going through disruption. And that's what we are going to look at. What are the radical shifts that has happened and what are the new business models as emerged in the next slide. If you think of it a decade back, every industry had its own identity and they weren't talking to each other. But today they are all converging together. Today the boundaries between the industries are getting blurred and they are collaborating and providing much more value to consumers and customers. If you take a traditional model of selling a product, we buy the product that was available. But today, the organizations are building the product that the consumers want or that suits the consumer. That's the change that has happened. And manufacturers or organizations, they want to customize it to our needs and deliver it to our home or desk. That's what they're doing. Like what we are doing with ITC. Like we order food directly from ITC in India. And today, companies like Ford and Hyundai, they are selling cars online. That was unheard of. To buying a car, we always visit a showroom, go through that experience and get that across. Then we'll be wondering, hey, what happens to these physical space or physical stores or physical showroom? All of them are getting converted to an experience center or experience zone where these organizations wants to showcase their products, give that live experience to the consumer, and really ensure it suits the needs of the consumer. That can be done by being physically in the store, or we could use augmented reality or virtual reality and get that experience to our home. That's what they're doing. Logistics, if you really look at, that is one industry that is linking various other industries together. Think of it right from raw materials to the factories, finished good to the warehouses or distribution center, finished goods to the retail stores or to the consumer. Logistics plays such an important role in delivering them in various ways, like express delivery, delivering of fragile products, delivering of healthcare equipments, and some of the very, very critical clinical products that is required. They played a major role during the pandemic by enabling the cold chains to ensure the vaccines are delivered across the world and it reaches the people at right time. If you take the product segment today, earlier we were known for, I would like to buy an air condition for my commercial space or a domestic space, and we go and specifically buy that in car. Those days are blurring, and now it's becoming more solution-driven approach. If you take companies like JCI, Carrier, Honeywell, they really want to work with the customers and provide a solution. Not only just talking about an air condition as a product, but to see how air purifier, water purifier, and providing various room controls. With all this dramatic shift, there are major implications for the companies and the talent that's available in the companies through the employees. That's what we are going to look at in the next slide, how the organizations are gearing up for it. If the organizations are strategizing to really become the digital player in the industry they are playing with and digitizing their business process, that won't be sufficient. They need to really look at what are the ecosystem players they are going to work with across the three dimensions. The direct players, some could be suppliers, distributors, and business partners, or the indirect players like consultants, third-party service providers, analysts, etc. And last but not the least, the extended players like regulators, investors, all those people. When we really strategize of digitizing the entire business process for our organization, we need to look at what role these ecosystem players are going to play. How am I going to interact with them? How am I going to share data and get data? So the entire process end-to-end have to be digitized, right from the raw material producers to traders to distributors, regulators, etc. This forces every organization to be agile, really adapting to the needs and really driving the change with ease with a lot of the ecosystem players. If I take an example in an automotive space, every automotive organization is looking for increasing their sustainability, moving into EV vehicles. It's easy said and done. They need to really look at how these EV charging can happen. How will the safety of the customer will be taken care during the charge process? How will they ensure they will address the need of next-gen consumers who might not want to own a car? They might want to share. That's where they are heading. They need to look at what are the various supply chain risks they are going through, as we saw in pandemic, which Sujit alluded to. They need to look at what are the financial models they need to work with. So which means they are competing with fintech. That is how an automotive organization, which was worrying about only producing a world-class car or a two-wheeler, has to think now. That is how the industry has changed. And we just spoke about how organizations are gearing up themselves. But what is important for people like you and me, how we are going to skill ourselves, how the organizations are going to help us through that. That is what we are going to look at in the next slide. So basically, the entire skill that is required for the organizations that are going through a business process transformation through the digital technologies that they are adopting from the industry, it is a radical change that we are going through. To be relevant and to be, adding value to not only our clients, but also to our associates, we need to be on top of things that's happening in the industry. More and more, we are seeing only business-led technology transformations, not just technology implementations, which means the technologies that is ahead of the industry today doesn't require a monolithic skill anymore. We need a T skill. What does it really mean? I'll take some examples. Business consultants earlier focused on a lot of industry-related information, knowledge, but now the need of the hour is that combined with exposure to the technology is very important. They need to know when they build a product to our clients, what kind of technologies we are using. They need to adapt to that. Technologists, the days are gone where we get a large chunk of requirements document and we combine that with functional and technical specs and write the code. But today, those pages have become lines and lines have become words. That's what the requirements are. We need to really look at how do I understand the big picture? What is the business problem I'm trying to solve? How am I going to really bring in a quality code in an agile way that will really suit the business needs? That's what the technologists have to gear up. To take an example in the logistics industry, this client is from the freight brokerage business where they want to build a world-class digital freight brokerage system platform where they really want to schedule the freights, manage the available facility like the ships, rail car and the trucks in a very efficient way and price it real time. To do this, we need to not only understand the technology, which is cloud and artificial intelligence, data analytics, etc., but we need to really understand the entire freight brokerage business and who are the regulators across the world because it varies by the country. That's the kind of multidisciplinary skills that we are looking at in the current industry. So these are some of the examples of what's happening in the industry, but we want to get into some specifics on giving you examples with a persona. For that, I would like to invite Sandeep to take over.
Thank you, Ganesh, for setting up context regarding how digital is impacting various industries. And what does it mean for companies, ecosystem partners, and employees to operate in the new digital world? Manufacturing and supply chain are the core processes when a physical product or a service gets delivered to the customer. And today I'll provide you some understanding about how these core processes are getting transformed because of digital. Let's look at digital from the customer lenses rather than looking at it individually. KRI is our customer. KRI's expectations and experience have changed significantly as a customer over the last 3-4 years. And still they continue to evolve. She prefers to shop online more than visiting a physical store, whether it's consumer durables or fashion accessories. Her expectations of the delivery lead time have reduced drastically, and she is obviously not willing to pay more for the reduced delivery times. And when it comes to commuting, she owns a car, and definitely she wants to upgrade to an electric car when she changes the racing. I think once there is improvement in the infrastructure and the cost of, let's say, e-vehicle comes down in our country. And whenever she visits office, she uses the shared mobility using her app. I'm sure many of us in today's webinar would be able to relate to Kiara's persona. What I want to say is, behind her everyday experiences which have been enabled, there are a large number of business processes which are getting powered by digital. Now, if you look at the microscopic view of the value chain which is delivering the products to the Kiara, you will see that digital technologies are all pervasive throughout the value chain, starting with R&D, then the raw material, then the supplier, manufacturing, and finally the product gets delivered to Kiara. What Kiara may be looking at is the final product which is getting delivered to her, and the person who is interacting is the person who is delivering the product. But what we need to understand over here is there is a complex chain of processes which is getting synchronized. Manufacturing and supply chain are part of these processes, and digital is helping the products to reach faster to Shilpa, reach faster to Kiara. At the same time, the product is reaching to the customer in an uninterrupted manner, and also at a reduced cost and in the right quality perspective is concerned. So what are those digital interventions within the supply chain and within manufacturing which are enabling these digital experiences? So when we talk about digital supply chain or interventions within the digital supply chain, there are multiple initiatives, starting with supply chain visibility, planning, sourcing and procurement, delivery and execution. Supply chain visibility is the prime capability which one needs to focus on when we talk about digital in supply chain. I think it's very important to have a visibility of the entire supply chain when it comes to the inventory. Here I would like to give an example. Many of our customers, we are helping them to have a real-time visibility of the inventory in the value chain by having sensors and RFID tags embedded as well. In fact, we have gone one step ahead. Webcams used to be used for, let's say, stopping the pilferage of high-value items in the stores. Today, we are using the feed from the video. By using the video analytics, we are able to even predict and provide real-time inventory analytics as well. So significant amount of work is being done when it comes to the supply chain visibility is concerned. Similarly, there are interventions in planning and sourcing and procurement. Delivery and execution is the prime thing. I think it's important that the product reaches to the end customer faster and in the right way, in the right quality as well. And for that, multiple initiatives are being taken place. I think Ganesh alluded to the trucking platform which one of our customers is implementing. Similarly, there are a lot of interventions which are happening on the warehousing. There are a lot of interventions which are happening even in the drones part of it. I think with our government using the drone norms, you will see a lot of the startup which will start being very active when it comes to reducing the delivery time by leveraging drones as well. So I think the prime objective of all the interventions in the supply chain is to ensure the product reaches the end customer faster with the reduced cost and which meets or exceeds the customer's expectations. Interventions in the manufacturing or smart manufacturing, what we say, I think earlier the objective used to only to reduce the productivity. Now it has gone beyond the productivity as well. Today we are talking about reducing the new product development lead time. We are talking about the safety of worker. We are talking about maintaining the equipments remotely. Again, here in this case, when it comes to production, robotics play a very important role. Robotic penetration when it comes to our country is lower compared to the global average now. What you will see now and going forward, significant amount of work is being done in the robotics. Currently, we are working with a client to develop a robotic arm which can be programmed to detect patterns. It can identify defects on a product. It can pick and choose a defective part automatically from an assembly line basis the video analytics which is being done by that robotic arm. Similarly, when it comes to health and safety, earlier not significant amount of focus was given on the health and safety. Today, I think companies are very conscious about health and safety. They are concerned about operators working in the safe environment. So this is where I think digital has played a significant role in terms of eliminating or reduce that risk. Again, I would like to give an example of a forklift operator for one of our clients. We have installed sensors in the helmet of a forklift operator, which keeps a track of the surrounding parameters as well as the parameters of the workman. So if any of his health parameters or if any of the surrounding parameters, if there is an issue, an alert and alarm is given to that person and also given to the central person so that appropriate and timely action can be taken. Similarly, I think there are many more examples when it comes to digital interventions in manufacturing. As a combination or implementation of some or more of these initiatives, what we call the traditional manufacturing setup in our country is getting transformed from being a traditional to a digital or a smart company. Now, here I would like to bring my colleague Jörg, which will share a very interesting example from an industry which everyone could relate to. Over to you, Jörg.
Thank you very much. Please go on the next slide. And also, once again, welcome, and I'm very proud to be in this session with you. And I want to take you on a journey, and you can transfer this journey to many applications if we are talking about manufacturing, logistics, and all this stuff. And I only want to tell you a little bit of the story. What does it mean if you are coming from an isolated mechanical engineering system to the internet? And you mentioned before, you're coming from products to solutions, and also if we are talking about old mechanical systems, we are opening the world if we are open it to go on the internet, and many of the functions in the future of vehicles will be like an IoT on wheels. And let me explain it with the key car access. In the past, the key opens one door, and then there was an improvement in the past, as an example, to more functionalities. You have something like central locks, as an example. You have central locks with additional function that closes the doors after you're going up to speed of 20 kilometers or something like this. So you have additional functions within this, but you are in a very closed loop of a mechanical system. And what is the demand today? You're talking about car sharing. Car sharing is more or less not really used to if you have to have a key as a car access. So therefore you're looking for new applications. And what's, I would say, common in the next months and years is that you can open it via your mobile phone. But if you're talking about that and looking more about a little bit the technical background, please go on the next slide. What does it mean for this function? In the past, you only have this left function that calls functional ECUs. So you have a control unit within the car who's managing the central lock. Full stop. No connection to the internet or something like this. But now, if you want to have functions like opening the car via mobile phones, you have to go to the internet. And for the first, you need a telematic ECU within the car who takes care that the data and the information can be transferred to a back end. And then you have a back end, and the whole world that you're seeing on the right side is more or less a typical IT-driven business. You have a back end, you have a software logistic, because you want to have maybe some updates. In the past, if your central lock was bad, you go to the repairing station doing maybe an upload, but you have to do it physically in the workshop, in the repairing station. Today, you can do it by a software logistic, and maybe you have some additional functions that you can bring to the customer with different softwares. As an example, welcome scenarios of vehicles, if you open the door or something like this, can be changed and can be driven by software logistic and can have additional service and value bring to the customer, because maybe some opening scenarios cost a little bit more than other ones. What's very important in the backbone then is also data analytics. You can analyze now what the customer is doing with the car, how often he's going to the car, who is using the car, and all this stuff you can analyze. And you can, as I mentioned before, you can transfer all these stories to all the mechanical engineering function that you have in mind, also if you're looking at manufacturing, robotics, and all this stuff, coming from a closed loop system to these open system that can then have a lot of data that you can analyze. And to be honest, most of the German customers especially, but also internationally, don't know exactly what they want to do with this data, because they have tons of data and they don't know really what they should do with that and analyze them very well. You have still car clinics, and I'm asking why. Because you have so many data of people driving the car, you can analyze it very intelligent, and then you don't need car clinics because you know what they're doing with that. And at the end, what's also very important if you're coming out of these mechanical closed loop systems is continuous improvement and continuous development. You can offer your customers additional functions independent from the mechanical development, because now you're offering a new car series, I would say, after 7 or 8 years. Now you can develop new functionalities on the software side and can offer your customer after 6 months or 12 months new functionalities without changing of anything within the mechanical side. And then you can transfer to all of the areas where we are talking about mechanical engineering. The worst thing a little bit is you have to take care of cybersecurity. And homologation topics will be, I would say, a very hot topic now, because if somebody can manipulate your functions, you can get really in trouble. Yeah, and that was not the issue in the past, because the closed loop mechanical system cannot be attacked by somebody else, and so therefore that brings us to the topic of cybersecurity. But you see, if you want to offer an end-to-end solution for a car access, it's a very complex scenario, and you can transfer it to anything that you have in mind if you're talking about mechanical engineering and manufacturing. That was my journey from this, only as an explanation of what is going on. Thank you very much.
Okay, you mentioned cybersecurity, and we already have a question from the audience on cybersecurity, but on around cars. I'll come back to that later. My colleagues at the back end said there were some audio issues initially while the introductions were on. So I'm just going to say that Ganesh was the first to present. Ganesh, your voice, from then on there was no problem at all. Ganesh was presenting first, and Ganesh is the Senior Vice President of Global Delivery for Products and Resources at Cognizant. Sandeep Panchal was the one who spoke next, and Sandeep is Assistant Vice President of Consulting at Cognizant. And you just heard Jörg Ohlsen. Jörg is CEO of Cognizant Mobility and is based in Munich, and that's where he's talking to us from. We of course also have Sanjeev Malhotra. Sanjeev is CEO of NASSCOM Center of Excellence for IoT and AI. And yeah, Sanjeev had some problem with his camera. Sanjeev, everything okay now?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, I mean, you heard Ganesh, Sandeep, and Jörg. Now, give us an idea from your perspective. You are very closely following this entire space. How are these technologies impacting AI, IoT? How are they impacting the whole manufacturing and supply chain?
No, thank you. It was good to hear all of them, and there are a lot of things at play here. As Ganesh was saying, business models are driving the change. The way we are buying things is changing. People are buying solutions now and not just products, The way they are buying is different. What we are talking about is evolution of technology. So many technologies at play, and everything is moving at such a fast pace. Also, it is impacting now, pretty much every sector. There is hardly a sector we can say that, this is not going to be impacted by technology. We'll have to really scratch our heads on that one, So, given that so much is happening, given that it's happening at such a fast pace, I think it requires us newer ways of dealing with it also. And that's where this concept of where the COE came along, which is a industry government partnership model, where we are talking about, with so much development happening around us, how do we put it all in one platform? How do we put a concept of co-creation, as Ganesh talked about, there are so many people who need to collaborate to get things done also, right? And that's where the need of the hour was this, to create a new platform where we allow people to collaborate, to work together to create these products. This need did not exist, 10 years ago, probably, when we were still happy with one product coming out every 2-3 years. People were happy using emails and moving on to browsers and moving on to, Next and all that. But now it is difficult for even one person to even understand everything, let alone be master of it, And I'm talking one person, not just person, even sometime organization or even, large companies also. And this becomes the need of the hour, and you have to bring the concept of startups here, There's so many use cases, sometimes it is very difficult to even think of that also, While there will be building blocks that will be coming from large companies, there will be a lot of new ideas also will be generated from there. But to address every use case, a lot of startups will be very relevant in this new ecosystem which is required. And that's where we have put this ecosystem around manufacturing, around healthcare, around logistics and mobility, because these things are very specialized and they require domain knowledge also. Just technology alone is not going to cut it. And this platform that we have put, what we call a co-creation platform, or this concept of a COE around each domain is becoming very relevant and finding a lot of acceptance from the global companies also. And we look forward working with Ganesh and team and Jörg and others to see how we can collaborate and extend this platform to larger companies and smaller companies also, right? Even smaller companies need to get digitized. If you talk about large companies have resources, but smaller companies also need to have certain access to see these things. So I think this is the new model, and we have been working on it quite with a lot of
applications come out of it already. Have some applications come out of it already? The COE.
Oh yes. Lots of them actually. I mean, let me just try to see if I recall one or two of them. What we have is a concept of we bring out some of the use cases from this company, manufacturing companies, who have been trying to solve some of these use cases on their own, and they feel they need help from outside now. So we open these challenges to a lot of these startups, and we get solutions from wide variety of companies, And sometimes some of the solutions which are around quality control, somebody who's trying to bring a quality control using computer vision, somebody who's trying to add tracking of their products in the supply chains, trying to get a precision sensor for certain applications, These are not ordinarily available things, Some of them are, conceptually a lot of them maybe, but talking about a particular solution that needs to be requires effort. So these challenges and these solutions, a lot of come out. At least we have come out on 150 solutions on that through the community challenges like this, and the participation of a lot of these smaller companies.
Okay, 150. Okay. For some case. Ganesh, can you talk about applications you've done?
Absolutely, Sujit, right? I think artificial intelligence and IoT, I think every major organization have started taking the first step. Let me take a couple of examples. The first one comes to my mind is, it's a large pump manufacturer based out of Denmark, where they manufacture pumps that are used in some of the mission critical activities, including disaster management. They came out with a problem statement saying, for me, maintenance costs are going up. I couldn't service the pumps at the right time when they are on a mission critical, activity. They really want to remote, predictive and preventive maintenance. What we did is we worked with them, add a lot of sensors on the pumps which are on the field, and it's hundreds of them across the world to start with. And what it enabled is for a technician, using the digital twin that we created, to recreate the problem instantaneously, remotely. So a technician need not go onto the field, number one, and always it might not be accessible due to natural disaster or anything. He or she will be able to provide the solution and maybe even save lives. So that's what this organization has done, right? The second one coming to my mind is, it's an American manufacturer of elevators, escalators, and walkways. Very simply, decade back, hey, what an elevator needs to do or an escalator needs to do, put me from point A to point B. They could have just left it there. But now they are creating experience for the customers who are using that. They are getting a lot of these live data through sensors that provides an experience in the elevator or a walkway, and also was able to provide a lot of preventive suggestions and maintenance and proactive suggestions to make that journey. For example, in the airport, when you and me are running for a flight, you don't want a walkway to be down and we walk further because we'll be already jet lagged. They were able to bring in a lot of value in this. By this, they were able to bring in 22% uptime in some on IoT already. We were talking about all these visible to our eyes, as oil and gas, which the pricing is going up every day across the world. We know oil well, and as a layman during my school days, oil well is same as any other well where we pull water from. But lot of analysis on seismic data, geoscientific data is going behind that. We are working with one of the clients who are a master of collecting this data, and they have data scientists, close to 50 plus of them, who study this and provide to oil majors, saying the precision of the location, precision of the drill, and what kind of potential oil that's available and how they can plan for it. Say data, it's simple, seismic and other one. Already seismic means it's complex data, but we are talking about petabytes of data. At least I didn't hear at least a decade. Today, that is equivalent to 1 million gigabytes of data. If I need to do a parallel, my iPhone, one is only 512 GB, the other one is 256 GB. So, and we are talking about millions of gigabytes. So, that's the power of data every organization is realizing. And earlier days, at least I come from a mainframe background, but now into other technologies, mainframe it would have taken hours. But today that's getting processed in minutes and seconds. That's the power of cloud. That's the power of data we are talking. Last but not the least, the mining industry. That's the most, I would say, underestimated industry, because we don't get where people are doing under the mine and other one, other than diamond and gold. But a lot of the minerals are coming from the earth. Here, hundreds of trucks are going around each and every mine, hauling the minerals, taking them out and everything. One of our client who is a global control said, how can I make it efficient? How can I ensure I reduce the capex of buying new trucks every time, but improve the efficiency of utilizing the current one, and also in turn service my industrial customer on time. So we enabled all the trucks, enabled the production systems. We were able to collect data and predicting how much of minerals will be mined today that needs to get onto the design the truck traffic, design the other loads that's going around that, loading into the truck, and we were able to bring in huge dollars of efficiency to that client. This not only reduce their capex and reduce their opex, but also the human safety also we were able to do, because we were collecting various data from these trucks and the machineries that's out there. We were able to navigate human movement also. That way it improves the overall safety of the field workers out there. Those are some of the things that came to my mind, Sujit. Thank you.
Yeah, no, yeah, exactly. I mean, those pump examples that you gave, a pandemic-like situation, you can overcome many of those challenges, no? Shilpa?
Yeah, coming to you, what can we expect from the future of automotive to be in the next 10 years?
So for the first, if we're talking about automotive, we can think globally about mobility. We have for sure domains that we have to take in consideration. 4 domains named case. Every of these devices will be connected. Every of these devices will be, I would say, assistant in driving. Let's call it not fully autonomous for the first, but for different scenarios we can also talk about fully autonomous, but assistance will be the right thing to drive the car. Then we have the topic of shared, as I mentioned before. If we are talking about shared mobility, you need different demands on your product. As an example, if you're changing users permanently, they want to have maybe different functionalities in the car. And you cannot be blocked by one functionality for each of the users. Yeah? So therefore, that will be very important if we're talking about shared. And for sure, we will talk about electrification. That's for the first, the 4 domains that are more or less driving the whole mobility industry, not only automotive business, it's commercial, it's in all the way that mobility was driven. Interesting is, normally, we are all targeting higher numbers. Yeah, we want to be better, and we want to be better if you're talking about numbers. Within the targets of the mobility industry, we want to go to 0. And 0 means, we want to have 0 emission. We want to have zero waste, if you talk about sustainability. We want to use these mechanical devices as long as possible, and we want to tune them more or less with software functionalities. We want to have 0 accidents. And with zero accidents, we want to have zero injured persons. We want to have zero deaths. And there's also an interesting example. You cannot achieve this target with mechanical engineering. Passive safety has an end at the end of the day, because you cannot go to this more or less limit at the end. But with assistant driving, with autonomous driving, yes, you can think about if you also can targeting zero accidents as an example. So everything in the automotive industry, if you're talking about the next 10 years, is going to zero and driven extremely by software functionalities and driven by these 4 domains called case.
Okay, multiple questions for you, Jörg, already. I just put this to you anyway. Yogesh Mahato asking, when things like the locking system get digitized, wouldn't there be a threat of unauthorized access and hacking? How do we tackle that?
Yes, John, for sure. If you're talking about cybersecurity, nothing can be 100% safe. And it's also for car access. Also the companies are not 100% safe. All the cyber attacks from the last weeks, months, to huge companies who are spending a lot of money in cybersecurity. And the other thing is, what's also interesting, if you want to have something like an interesting open source development, you have to open your systems. That somebody else can develop functions on that, but then they have also access to your systems. And that's also an interesting discussion, because we learned it from Tesla, that Tesla opens a world of developers and say to them, hey, please develop new functionalities for my car, not driver assistance systems. Okay, take as an example the welcome notes. Maybe you can download now an app that shows more or less a Christmas scenario on your Tesla if you open the door. And that's developed by an open source, but open source means you have to open your systems, and that's more or less a little bit critical if you're talking about cybersecurity. At the end, John, you have to think about how mature you want to be there and what effort you want to invest. At the end, you can be as much as possible safe, but no 100%. You can think about emergency scenarios after that. So as an example, if somebody is hacking your car, you go on the right lane, or more or less speed down the car to zero, something like this as an emergency mode, but at the end of the day, take care for that.
Okay, everybody loves cars. I think there are more questions for you, Jörg, on cars, but I'll come back to that later.
Okay.
Let me just ask you quickly this. There's a lot of noise in the marketplace on, of course, all these technologies and digitizing and all of that. Are companies still largely in an experimentation mode? What should companies do to get digital at scale?
Yeah, very good question, I think, Sujit. I think, let me first highlight a couple of reasons why people have not been able to scale beyond the pilots. First of all, selection of the wrong use cases, and then plethora of use cases. So, one function is selecting their use cases, another function is selecting their use cases, and they invest whatever bandwidth and money have in those use cases. It's not tied to their business strategy. So, yeah, I think, and they're also not very sure of the economic value they will get out of these use cases, right? So when they exhaust all that money, they don't have money to scale it. So that's one of the prime reasons. Second is the skill. I think skill is, the availability of digital skill is one of the prime reasons. If you look at our country itself, I think not more than 10 to 12% of our employees are digitally skilled, right? And the need of the hour is to go to, let's say, 50% or even beyond 50%. Now, that's going to take a significant amount of effort. Now, it's not going to be possible alone by, let's say, the IT companies. I think the industries equally and the associations need to participate in skilling our workforce. So, coming back to how can successfully, let's say, digital interventions be implemented, I would say first start with your business strategy. What is the business objective or the KPIs you want to improve over a period of, let's say, 2 to 3 years time? What is the absolute KPI improvement you're looking for in terms of dollar value or in terms of percentage improvement? Then identify those digital interventions which can give you those value. And then prioritize basis the ease of implementation and the benefit. So start with some short-term gains, get the money in the bank, and then continue investing in your digital intervention. So I think that is first thing. Second is, I think digital strategy or digital implementation is not about few people in the company implementing digital. I think the entire company needs to be bought in. Not only the boardroom members, but people on the shop floor also need to be bought in as well. So that is very important aspect as well. Third part, obviously the talent part, I think enough has been said, but yeah, I think it still cannot be enough as well. Fourth is you need to implement in an agile manner. I think you cannot be spending times behind POCs for months and years together. I think you need to implement fast, see you are getting value or not. If not, you move on to the next initiative. And last but not the least, I would say a continuous monitoring, rewards and recognition system so that people are charged up and they are actively engaged in implementing various digital interventions. So if you do these things right, I think the chances of companies being successful in implementing digital are much more than other way around.
Do you normally see companies trying to do, across the board?
Yeah. Now the companies are being, I think, more conscious about that. I think they have started linking their digital strategy with the business strategy because they realize that there is only little amount of money which they can invest into digital. They need to start generating value as well after some certain period of time. So a good amount of traction. Second, on the digital talent front, I think there is no company which is not talking or doing something about the digital part. So I see, and pandemic has helped us, right? Every company realized that digital earlier was an option, like conference rooms, but they did nothing on the shop floor. Pandemic taught us all, right? You need to implement digital initiatives, otherwise you will not be able to compete, or you will be out of the business. As you rightly started this, how there was a lot of noise coming out from the manufacturing sector because they were not able to sell, they were not able to manufacture, right? So yeah, it's a business imperative, Sujit.
Okay.
Yeah. Sanjeev, coming to you, in terms of talent, how ready are we and what kind of careers are emerging as a result of digital transformation?
So, as Sandeep said, digital is not an option anymore. Let me take a couple of examples. When earlier Sujit had also asked, a high-end beverage maker, is talking about putting a solution, a technology solution, how to stop the fake circulation of these beverages in the market, right? And they're looking at this type of solution. During pandemic, we had a chemical company who had said, we want an AR/VR solution because people cannot visit us. We want a remote experience we want to give to our partners and customers who can visit this thing, remotely. When we visited some manufacturing companies and asked them, how they take care of the machines currently, they said, there is a supervisor who works here for the last 15, 20 years. He understands the noises all these machines make. Anytime a machine makes a different noise, we know something is going to go wrong. That's how the world was working till now, Now we were talking of a chemical company, a beverage company, a manufacturing company with the shop floor. Common thing and all these things, whatever was happening traditionally is now changing to some new solutions. This is need of the hour. So obviously there's the requirement that all the skills that were required by the people earlier, now they need to change to more digital skills. They need to be, whether you are a person in the operations, or you are in the finance, or you are in some marketing, even for that matter, even marketing is becoming, digital marketing is becoming a very, it's an essential thing as much. So everybody needs to get to the skills, basic skills on that. That is one. Now talking about the careers, obviously we hear about some of the new, earlier CIOs were people who would just maintain IT systems, but now CIOs are expected to do little more than that. Or not little, in fact, quite more than that. And sometimes they have created a new position called CDO, Chief Digital Officer. And there's a staff under that also, So these are the new terms we have heard only in last 4 to 5 years, right? Lot of data is getting generated which needs to be analyzed. Data analyst is a very essential position now. Earlier, the person who used to hear sound and do things, now we need people who can look at data and analyze and come to some conclusions or at least some recommendations, right? Then of course also it was talked earlier in Ganesh's presentation also that when we're dealing with so much data and circulation of data and talking to your customers externally, internally, data security becomes an equal thing. You become very vulnerable the moment data gets moved around inside the organization, outside the organization, privacy, security, etc. All these things become very important. So you need to be on top of that. Every company needs to be they need to protect their own assets, right? There's not going to be any cookie cutter solution for anything, any of these things. Each company has its own business process. Each company has its own problems. They need to have their own solution. Obviously, there will be some good products out there which need to be customized and put to use by putting a solution together, right? So obviously there are a lot of new designations we'll hear, and of course scaling has to be done across the board. This is not a choice anymore.
Okay, similar question to you, Ganesh. I mean, what kind of talent are you deploying? I think you mentioned that T-shaped talent skills that you need. So, what?
Absolutely, the concept of career for organizations like us has changed, Sujit, right? Last couple of years. One is, I would say, in 2 to 3 years down the line, I don't know whether we should be calling ourselves as IT service provider or business service provider, because more and more we are going beyond CIO. Like Sanjeev said, that's a blurring role now. It's getting into CTO, CDO, and some of them are really adding digital value. And to take a couple of personas and really talk about the top 3 key ones. First one, the role of a project manager has already transitioned into a product manager, right? So what I mean by that is, this is not about, hey, I am PMP certified or I'm certified in this project management skill, I can just handle things. Now it's gone beyond that, where that is only one of the 3 or 4 skills you need to possess, where the product manager needs to understand the business. What am I going to solve? What am I developing this for? What's the big picture? And for he or she has to deal with the business stakeholder, not just the IT. Many of the like what Sandeep said, use cases are failing because we are taking an IT lens, technology lens. We are not taking a business lens. So the product manager has to be equipped to converse with the business stakeholder and get the right requirements. And that will also come in words, not in phrases, right? He or she needs to develop on that. The second one is, as you really understand the requirement, the product manager has to work with business consultants who really understands the space and develop that into what can be the art of possible. What is the outcome that we can define? And then have to work with a technology architect to look at what are the technology choices I have. There is no single commercial off-the-shelf product anywhere in the world that can solve all the business problems for an organization. It is a culmination of various products or custom microservices we are looking at. That's why more and more, as long as you move away from a monolithic architecture, your environment will be able to take new technologies as it comes. It will become more modular and you can interface and interact much better. And more, what we are encouraging our clients is to move towards microservices, API-based model, so that you have the agility in the architecture. Agility is not in the mind, it's about in the architecture also. Last but not the least, the most important thing, I'm sure Sanjeev is really helping us across India, is how developers' roles have become past and the full stack engineers have become the future. Here, we are talking about an individual coming out of the campus, having a consortium of skills across front-end, back-end, interface, and learn the business too. This is something unheard of 7-8 years back. And that's what the people coming out of the campus are gearing up for. I will say it's an advantage also. But the reason is, a lot of us in the industry who have spent time has to go through a change management in the digital wave, in the pandemic digital wave, and now post-pandemic digital wave. But the people coming out of the campus, they are actually getting into the new era of digital wave, which is post-pandemic. We believe they will be able to do a much accelerated work by learning the new skills and adapt to the business. That's what I think, Sandeep. Thanks a lot.
Okay, a lot of multifaceted skills and business acumen as well. Yeah. Jörg, I just want to ask you, you are sitting in the middle of one of the world's biggest automotive hubs, and you probably know Indian engineers as well. Any messages for Indian engineers? What can they do to improve themselves, to build better cars and better factories?
Let me give this example on that. 5 years ago, the boss of Volkswagen is looking mostly on the competition of Daimler, BMW, Toyota, in the more or less improvement of mechanical engineering. And therefore, I think Germany is well prepared, and you can't have any experience like that in other regions. The next phase, it was only 5 years ago. The last, I would say, 1 or 2 years, always looking at Tesla, Why? Because Tesla is doing a good job if you're talking about connectivity and also about electronic, bringing functions direct on chips and all this stuff. And can you imagine what they announced last week, what Mr. Dees personally asked for a benchmark with their software group? They are looking for Netflix. They are looking for the methods, product development and services that Netflix is offering. And that's within 5 years. And now you are asking why India is prepared for that. In my opinion, and I'm now for more than 20 years in the market, and started my business in India, especially in mechanical engineering, you cannot fill in the gap that we had in the past with mechanical engineering experience. But you are extremely well prepared for everything that's running around IT business, IoT business. Very well educated, and we have really a gap of knowledge, resources, and big companies who can support us in this knowledge that you have in India. And that's a perfect fit, and therefore I'm extremely happy that we are part of the Cognizant family now, because we have really a shortage in resources there. We have 1,000 engineers more or less on that, and we have opportunities. We can get jobs from customers for 5, 6, 7,000, but we don't have the people in Germany. Because they are also not very prepared if you're looking at universities and all this stuff. And therefore I'm very happy can have your support on these IoT business, because it's very strongly related to IT service there. And if you know how Netflix is operating, you can help us very well.
Good to hear that.
Yeah, we have this audience question from Jigar Parekh. How mature is this industry in terms of digital transformation? Are clients ready to go for large investments for these advanced technologies?
Okay, maybe I'll take that.
Yeah. Sure.
I would say the large conglomerates, the global clients are ready. But are they ready in a unified manner? Answer is a no. To Sandeep's point, they are departmentalized. They haven't got a unified vision. However, the mid segment, the MSMEs, and the evolving startups or the smaller segment, they are still, I would say, struggling across the world. I don't think they have mastered it. So, however, what we are realizing more and more is the pandemic has taught them what are the basic gaps that they need to address in their business to survive. I'll just take an example in a retail segment. One of our clients, mid-segment, they were always in stores. All the products were sold in stores, and this is not grocery. I'm talking about fashion retailer, surprisingly. But what happened during pandemic, they shut the shop and they had to go through major change. But now I'm telling you, they were out of pandemic a little bit because they opened the shops, 90% of them. Still, they are not thinking going online 100%. They are saying, I am known for giving experience in my store. I would like to convert them as experience centers, and digital online will be a choice given to the customer. So a lot of them are realizing post-pandemic, but if you ask me, it's like up to the large scale Fortune 500, Fortune 1000, they have realized full. The mid segment evolving, the lower segment long way to go.
Okay. Lower segment, long way to go. Jörg, like I said, I have another question on cars here. Let me just ask you that. It's from Gautam Upadhyay. It's like this. How do we plan to handle multiple limitations for automating mechanical functions which cannot be overridden? The example is giving is a battery breakdown in a car requires a manual push to start the car, but an automated system might keep looking for a driver to turn on the engine through buttons. Did you get that question?
You're on mute, Jörg.
Yeah, sorry. Let's do an engineering exercise on that, or let's start a sprint on this functionality, maybe. Yeah, there's one of the demands that, yes, we have to take care of, as I mentioned before. We have to find good solutions in the combination between between software, hardware, and there will be some road blockers that we have to take into consideration. But these we have also with mechanical systems, yeah. So therefore, I'm very happy to find a solution for this approach, and please send us the detailed request, and then we will find a solution on that.
And we will use Sanjeev's platform.
It's one of the use cases that Sandeep described before that we have to have before, and then we can find a solution on that.
Yeah, NASSCOM Center of Excellence can work towards this.
Absolutely. Any problem you cannot solve, you send our way. We'll find it. We'll do it open to the community, and we have lots and lots of good developers, startups, and companies who are working with us on that. So collectively, that has been true. Some companies have been working on a solution for more than a year, could not do it. We were successfully able to get them a good one. Some of these are very complex, actually.
Oh, well, that's very nice. Okay. So these are COEs are physical locations in different places, is it?
Yes, we have in 4 locations: Bangalore, Gurgaon, Ahmedabad, and Vizag, so spread in all parts of the country. And plus, the virtual presence is pretty big, and we have technical teams who are able to actually, because to even understand these problems, you need pretty high-end professionals to do that, you know. Forget the solution, even a problem, understanding some of the use cases and problems is quite a task. So our team of professionals, the technology team, is actually analyzing and then bringing in the right people to do it. So this model has been pretty successful so far.
Okay. I know we are out of time. It's 2 minutes past 6. So final words for all of you, either to the industry or to the engineers or to both. Ganesh, you want to start?
Absolutely. My only request is let's not sit here and assume digital is not important for me. Digital is important for everybody, as a human, as an employee, as an organization, as a student. That is one thing. Second, I think relevance is getting questioned. You know, in fact, I used to think 5 years back, maybe I don't have to learn anything more in the industry. I can just keep taking care of my people, be a good leader, I will be okay. But then I was proven wrong with the digital disruption. So I am going through certain certifications. So that's something we need to question ourselves every 2 quarters, saying, am I still relevant in the industry? Then to the organization, to my associates, etc. And one request is, let's follow a principle of lifelong real principle, which I tell my leaders, is let's all huddle together and ensure that's a journey we go with. Otherwise, we will not be add value. And last but not the least, even pre-pandemic and through the pandemic, adaptability. That is one skill. It was hidden in with us, but thank God we showcased it very well. The resilience, that is something, be an ongoing process and will not stop. So with that, I just want to thank you all for the opportunity to just help others.
Yeah. Sandeep, what your
I'm going to
industry?
Yeah, sure. I'll reiterate some of the points I think which I made earlier. So, one, I think it's important to implement digital interventions. There is no option. Not only to serve the customer, but also to survive and remain competitive. If you don't implement, you're going to be out of the business. So that's the first thing. Second, I would strongly advocate to select the right set of digital interventions linked to your business strategy. And third is, as Ganesh mentioned, continue to upskill yourself. I think it's going to be a pretty exciting time for all of us who are there on the webinar, and we can do pretty interesting stuff going ahead. So wish you all the very best to all the people who are there on the webinar.
Jörg, message for automotive industry.
Yeah, my takeaway is I'm now 52 years old. That means I'm not the youngest generation now in this group here, but I am still fascinating from everything that's coming out of digitalization, and I'm using it extremely strong, and I like to be more or less on the top of these developments, and that's very, very interesting. And I think out of the pandemic we learned a little bit that we can take care a little bit more about our natural resources, and can use it a little bit more efficient, I would say, if we can use also different technologies. But I'm still extremely fascinating from everything that's coming around digitalization. And please support us worldwide to develop these technologies and see everything with respect, but not with permanent risk on that. Yeah, because if you only see permanent risk, we not will develop anything on that. But please take in consideration a little bit that we have to take it with respect, I would say.
Absolutely. Sanjeev?
So, my word to people who are just starting and earlier and just early on in their careers would be to continue to widen their horizons, pick more than one technology, more skills. And for people who are in the corporate world, I will say just from what it's been said earlier, to remain continue upskilling and remain connected to the ecosystem. That's the best way to remain updated. I mean, you can read many books, you can watch many videos. Remain connected to the ecosystem, learn from people who are younger in the market, your upcoming companies. There's a lot to learn from them, there's a lot of reverse mentoring that can be done as well. So that will be my take for the corporate.
Thank you so much. Yeah, remain connected to the ecosystem. That's the best way to understand what is going on in the industry, what kind of upskilling required, all of that. Yeah. Thanks so much. Very fascinating discussion. Great technologies emerging. For us, this is the final webinar of this year. So, thanks to all of you. And happy holidays. Yeah.
Yeah, happy holidays. Thank you so much. Thank you. Bye.
Okay.
Bye.